So Patty, good to have you with me today for this video interview. This is part of a video series that is intended to broaden our understanding of that word stewardship. Stewardship being the wise use of all the many things that God gives us, time, abilities, talents, health, and finances. But I think what I found is when you say stewardship, people tend to think giving money. And we kind of have that limited definition that when we talk about stewardship, it means that the church is asking for money again. And so the hope of this video series is to interview the many members of All Saints and to talk about the wide variety of ways that they give and use the gifts that God has bestowed them with. And so, again, thank you, Patty, for being a part of this video. And I wanted to begin by just asking how long you've been a member at All Saints.
Rick and I joined All Saints in 2012. We happened to have been looking for something a little different that summer, and we lived practically across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And we had been here to see a baptism and a communion for one of our grandchildren. So we walked over and found so much that we loved here, not only in the service and the preaching, but we had at least two different people introduce themselves to us, and we walked home 2-3 weeks in a row and talked about it and joined shortly after that, and that was in 2012.
Now, I know your husband, Rick, had a Lutheran background, but you had not. So how was this kind of dive into the Lutheran world for you? What did you feel, what were you comfortable with? What felt similar to Catholicism? What felt new? Just how was that transition?
Yes, the transition for me was quite easy.
Okay.
And that is in that Lutheranism is so much like the Catholicism,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't seem to have the restrictions and I'll say the guilt that we grew up with as we went through the church. I also found the people to be so much more welcoming, and there was just fellowship here that I had never experienced. So diving into something different in the Lutheranism has been quite easy because a lot of it was familiar to me.
Oh, good. And it does sound, too, like it kind of offered you something that you had missed without even knowing maybe that you had missed it for a long time.
Absolutely. It was nothing to just go into a mass and go in and participate and walk out the door, and that was it.
Okay.
So.
Well, tell me too, Patty, about some of the many ways that you serve at All Saints, ministries that you participate in, ways that you give of your time and gifts, events you've attended. Just tell me some of the ways that you serve at this church.
Okay. And this is one of the first, it is the first church that I've attended where I've been as active as I've been.
Really?
And that is because there are so many opportunities here. When I first came, I spoke with Pastor Bonnie and talked to her a little bit about the one area of participation that I had in a previous church. And it was at the time that the Welcome Center was being put together and organized. And she felt that I would be a very, very good fit for that. So I was able to become involved in the inception of the Welcome Center, or the caring community. And once we got that off the ground, served in several different capacities with that, including being a monthly chairperson a couple times a year. At about that same time, I had always had an interest in being a deacon. Wasn't always sure that I was really worthy of doing that, but decided to take that step, and that has been something that's been of great value to me. I should say back to the caring community, I had served in so many different capacities. There are so many ways that we can offer our service, as little or as much as we want. So, and I met so many people through doing that. Through my delivering communion, I was fortunate to be asked to take communion to shut-ins. And that has been a ministry that has just been amazing for me. So I think I've had my fingers in a lot of pots, and I know that it's not nearly what a lot of others have done.
Right.
But I really feel like I've had an opportunity to
So through
be
the
involved.
caring community specifically, and just for members who may not know enough about that ministry, when you began, how was it explained and defined to you to be a part of this caring community?
We had tables that
Mm-hmm.
were set. There were temple talks
Okay.
explaining what
Mm-hmm.
opportunities there were. We
Mm-hmm.
had tables set up, and we were able to go and talk to them about what might be a good fit for us.
Okay.
So really, I think they tried to get that one-on-one during the church services.
Okay. And what appealed to you about the caring community? What kind of spoke to you beyond? I know Pastor Bonnie kind of encouraged you to look into that. Um, had you been accustomed to kind of like making homebound visits, or what spoke to your heart about that ministry?
What spoke to me about that is that a couple years, probably maybe 4 years prior to that, I was a hospice volunteer. And at a certain point, and did deal directly with patients and visited them many times until death. And I had to step back from that because you do get so many attachments and it is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time that I stopped doing that, I felt like I don't really need to work through hospice to do this. I have a wonderful new church,
Mm-hmm.
and that perhaps there are opportunities for us and for me to give back in this way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just with folks who are members of our church.
That's wonderful. So, how does your giving of time and your gifts, how does that strengthen and deepen your faith, do you think?
I believe that it has to do with the interactions that I have with everyone. I have found it's almost like a domino effect for me.
Okay.
I have served on committees or doing just particular jobs here or there, and I'm meeting so many wonderful people, and I feel like they're all doing the same thing that I'm doing, and
Mm-hmm.
that is trying to live the faith and in our daily life. And it makes me want to do more when I'm around more people like that, and that strengthens my faith. I've found that this is all God led,
Mm,
and I really want to continue to do that with other folks um, who are pretty much having the same intentions that I have.
mm-hmm. That's wonderful. Thank you. Why, Patty, do you believe it's important to give back to the church and community? What, I found that some people have this sense of responsibility that God has gifted me and thus I'm to give back, or I'm to use those gifts to kind of bless the world. Why is that an important part of your faith?
I think that having done the increased amount of service that I have done here has been so rewarding for me that I want to be with other people and invite them to experience the same type of reward faith wise that I have received. Um, I love my church. I've never really said that before. And it's because I love the opportunities and I love what I can give. And when I go out to a home and take communion, we are the connection that they have with All Saints Church. And they want to know about us, and we want to know about them. And when I give communion to them and say, this is the body of Christ given for you, it means as much to me as it does to them because I it reminds me of the importance of the meal.
Mm.
So I just feel like I've been gifted to be able to serve, and what a better way for me
Mm-hmm.
to continue doing.
And you talked about, you used the word invite, and I think that is so key to this whole dialogue, that we're called to be invitational with our faith. And So that's exactly what you're doing. And especially in this time of a COVID-19 pandemic when so many people, because of health and mobility and a number of circumstances, are not comfortable being back in the building yet, you're that lifeline.
Yes.
You know, you and many others become that only connection that they have, really, beyond watching live streams and videos online. So I want to thank you for that. I want to
You're
thank
welcome.
you for dialoguing with me today, and just all you do to give back to God and to the community here at All Saints. So thank you, Patty.
Thank you.